Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Orange Juice news and notes from around the world of insoles. I'm your host today, Owen, and we also have a special guest back with us again, our co founder, Tom. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing great, Owen. Thanks for having me back.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem.
It's been a
Um,
while. I'm not sure if I goofed up the first time and wasn't a great episode. I thought maybe that's why you put me on the bench for such a long time. But happy to be back. I'm ready to redeem myself.
no, you're fine. This is actually our superstar, so we can only bring him in so often. But
I prefer
the,
it when you keep the bar low, Owen. Keep it low.
The you bring up a good point. So we have you on for the first time in a while because a lot of the times we talk about like some broader topics in health and wellness and whatnot. We talk about travel tips, that sort of thing. But this episode is kind of circling back. We have done an episode on the launch of our new Orange Sport insoles, which we're very excited about, and we'll tell you a little bit more about them. But the purpose of this episode is now that we've added this new Orange Sport insole into the line, how do the question is kind of how do I know which insoles are for me? And we kind of sprinkle in a little bit of information here and there throughout our podcast, but we thought this would be a perfect opportunity just to talk with Tom, who's obviously very heavily invested in like the product side, and spends a lot of time there and kind of asking those questions like, hey, what is it that we want in our next insole, and how do we want it to fit, or what's going to be the purpose of it. So we wanted to again walk through that for each of our insoles because they do have a very specific use for each of them, and just kind of go from there. So I was kind of chatting with Tom before this, and it sounded like it kind of the direction Tom helped me out. It was always to kind of have like a ideal shoe for the insole in mind, uh, that sort of thing. So like our full length is for one with a removable liner, the 3/4 one without. Was that kind of something important for you guys from the beginning, or how did that kind of come to be that strategy?
Yeah, I think it helps to determine what works best for me. And I think if all the shoes had a removable sock liner that you could pull out and replace with a full length one, then that's probably what you'd see most of. So that's where the full length comes in. And then the 3/4, as you mentioned, if the sock liner doesn't pull out, and then you put the full length on top of that sock liner, then it just doesn't make the shoe fit appropriately. So all the support happens from the front of your arch back. So whatever happens on kind of in your forefoot up into your toes, that doesn't really provide you any more support. So that's where the 3/4 comes in. Is you can get the same amount of support in a 3/4 while maintaining the fit of the shoe, especially into the forefoot. And
Yeah,
then
that.
and then that.
Go ahead. I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead,
son.
on.
I was just gonna
Okay.
say that helps a lot, just as we kind of picture the as we kind of start talking about what insoles are going to be best for what. I think a good way to maybe start is, so you mentioned that the ideally all the shoes would have a removable liner, and we would be able to put something in that way, because again you're going to get the most support heel to toe. So with that in mind, we do have two full length insoles. So I know that we kind of have differing um, intended uses for both of them, but what is now the intended use for the original orange full length insoles that have been around forever and are a bestseller? How would you kind of frame that up? Just getting started.
Yeah, absolutely. The orange full length, the original, is like the workhorse. It has deep heel cup and great lift into the arch area. It's a four-piece construction as well, which gives it the most stability and strength. And that those are great insoles for somebody who's maybe on a construction job, working in a hospital, long shifts, on your feet all day. That's going to provide the maximum support. I think what we found though is for people who are using some different activities, if they wanted to use it more for athletic purposes, like let's say for running, um, maybe the full length original was maybe just a little too stiff. Maybe it just took up a little bit too much room. So the Orange Sport that we came up with, thinner profile. It's a three-piece construction, which thins it out a little bit. makes it a little more flexible. The higher foam that we use, the higher rebound foam, gives it a nice bounce back for athletic purposes. So one's a workhorse, one's a little bit more of a speed flexibility type of story.
And as we talk about this, one important thing to highlight is these are the intended uses, but we've had people kind of mix and match insoles to activities, and I've heard that almost every insole works great for this or works great for that. So, for example, we have the Orange Sport, like Tom mentioned, that is kind of more for athletic use, but I know many people that use the original full length insoles in their running shoes, and the reason being is it has the most support, like you were saying. I like to think of the original full length as kind of like our orthotic strength, so to speak. When we do go to podiatry conferences and just educate doctors and whatnot, they seem to understand right away, like, hey, this deep heel cup and rigid construction with the hard outer shell is really a quite supportive insole. More supportive than I'd say probably 90% plus of insoles on the market. It just has that construction. But then, sure enough, for me, the Orange Sport insoles, yes, I do wear them when I work out and whatnot, but I find that myself putting them in like my slim fitting casual shoes as well. So it isn't exactly that athletic use, but that kind of more narrow fit with the full length seems to work. So the point is, again, there's so many different ways to kind of apply each of them and go from there. But Tom, what I guess kind of focusing on the Orange Sport, I know it has different foam. What was the idea in changing the foam from the full length, the original full length, to the Orange Sport? Could you kind of walk our audience through that?
Yeah, sure. The original is made out of an EVA, which is typical for most of the insoles. So it has more of this shock densing material that will dissipate the shock. The Orange Sport will have more of a rebound, so it's more of a bounce back rebound to it. And we thought again, maybe for those uses that you're going to have a better outcome with that rebound foam versus the shock absorption foam in the original.
The other thing too with the high rebound foam is, runners are obviously hard on their feet, and it's 3 times as durable as the traditional foam. So that's where we talk about it being more like a performance material. It's not going to wear out, and it really is going to give you that. Well, of course, it'll eventually wear out, but it won't wear out as quickly, and then it's going to give you that extra spring, which uh, you kind of know better than I do. But athletes. So the sport insole has 40% more energy return, and that's pretty important for athletes to not essentially waste the energy with each stride and kind of get the maximum propulsion forward, that sort of thing. But I think the flip side is just making sure your body's trained for that, I guess, stiffer like support underneath your foot, right? It's a balancing act.
Yep, yep, for sure. And you had mentioned this a little bit earlier about can you wear an original in a sport, and could you put those in different shoes for different reasons? And I think it's absolutely may depend on the fit of the shoe, the purpose that you're using it for, potentially socks that you might be wearing. I will have a tendency to change some insoles out from, I'm wearing a full length one day and then I go to a 3/4 next for different reasons. So yeah, you're right. There's a little trial and error sometimes on the insoles and the options that we have.
Pivoting just a little bit, we mentioned the 3/4 length insoles that we have and carry, and uh, the starting point. If you said why would you carry 3/4 length insoles, and Tom mentioned this, is that if the shoe does not have a removable sock liner that you can take out and replace with the orange full length or the orange sport, um, you'd want something like this. Reason being, again, Tom mentioned this, that you might get a little too crowded in the forefoot and just the footbed in general if you can't take something out. So we do have kind of our what I would call like the original 3/4 insole, or almost like the orange full length junior. But what other uses, Tom, for a 3/4 length insole might there be aside from just like aside from just the whole ordeal of being able to take the sock liner out or not? Because I get people that will say, "Oh, I prefer 3/4 length insoles," or "Oh, I prefer full length insoles," and that's not always the answer I get as to why. So
Right. Right. Yeah, I think it could be some personal preference on that. I mean, maybe some people like the sock liner that's in the shoe. So putting that 3/4 in maintains the original sock liner and maybe the original fit of the shoe. Whenever you pull the sock liner out and you put the insole in, there may be a slight variance on the volume of the shoe. So that may be a reason why you may want to go with a 3/4. And just to further maybe explain that you call the 3/4 the junior full length, I think you're right on with that. We took the exact same construction process as we did on the full length, and we just took off the front part of it, made it a 3/4 length. We did thin out the EVA on the 3/4 length too, just so it's a little thinner profile because you are putting it on top of the sock liner, and we wanted to be careful that it didn't raise your foot up too much into the shoe. But it is the same strength and construction as the full length. It just has a little less foam for fit purposes.
The other thing too is super easy to swap from shoe to shoe. So for the full length insoles, I always keep my sock liner just in case. I'm taking the insoles and bringing them to another shoe or whatnot. But each time you do that, I mean, it's a small first world inconvenience, that's for sure. But each time you do that, you have to take out the liners in the shoes and then put in the original ones, probably find a spot for those liners or just kind of like make sure they're out of the way, but you know where they are, that sort of thing. Where with the 3/4 length insoles, I mean, you just take it out of the bottom and then you just put it in the bottom of the next one. Take it out of the bottom, put it in the bottom of the next one. So it's super versatile, like you were saying, especially because it just has a little bit less foam and has that more, I guess, like tapered fit, so to speak. But just to be clear, generally shoes that may not have removable liners could be like certain casual shoes. Loafers a lot of the times won't necessarily have removable liners, and then certain like work sneakers or shoes or boots and that sort of thing. When you're looking at most of like the running shoes and whatnot and boots, they tend to have those removable liners, but kind of some of those like in between shoes, I call them, that aren't necessarily a boot or like a athletic sneaker. Some of those tend not to have the insoles, or excuse me, the removable liners. Um, and then we haven't mentioned much about uh, the orange light insoles, and I think that it's a terrific option. Definitely our most versatile. So how's the orange light? So to be clear, the orange light 3/4 is another 3/4 insole we have. But how do those differ, Tom, from the 3/4 length insole we were just talking about?
Well, the Orange Light came out after we came out with the full length original and the 3/4 original. This came out a few years later, and the reason being is there were just some shoe types that it wouldn't fit, where they're like, boy, great if we could fit an insole in here. It's just too big and it's just too bulky. So the Orange Light is it's very simple compressed EVA construction, very thin, takes up very little room. Now, because it's thin and doesn't take up a lot of room, it's not as supportive as the original full length 3/4 or the Sport, but it fits into shoes. So, women's dress shoes, a soccer cleat, a cross country spike, things where people may want some of that support, but you just can't fit it in because those shoes tend to fit much closer. And again, 3/4 length, so it's from the front of the arch back, thin, gives nice contour, distributes weight more evenly. The Orange Light has been fantastic.
It's interesting. I didn't actually know that it was added a few years later. I thought that this was a original legacy product, so to speak. So,
Yep, yep. A couple years later, we had the three when we were looking, and we went forward with the two, and we said let's just keep an eye on what how these are working. We just felt like there was a need for that light, and I feel like we have that complete package. And now you throw the Sport in there, that gives some versatility to somebody who's looking for maybe a little more performance oriented. Our four insoles should take care of most everybody.
absolutely. In the light insole, there's just so many different uses. I know, you know, Marsha, if she was on here, she would tell you about the high heels and the dress shoes and that sort of thing, and how they're so great for that. Again, only for a limited period of time, just because those shoes can be very tough. I mean, wearing high heels, and I don't wear high heels, obviously, and I'm just very thankful for that.
It's a good thing.
Um, but it can get you a few extra hours of comfort, that sort of thing. That's usually what she'll say, or it gets you to midnight, so to speak. But then we used to set up at lacrosse tournaments. So our sister Mallory was a lacrosse goalie, and we would go to these like travel tournaments and set up a tent with the Orange Light insole specifically. The reason was so many of the kids will just go out there and they literally have, I don't know, Tom, to check me if I'm wrong, like 4 to 6 games in a day, and they'd just be running up and down and whatnot, and kids are like, my feet are killing me, my knees are killing me, or whatever it is, and we just be like, hey, try these in, and us, we back our product 100%. So like, try these out, see how they go in the next game. If you don't like them, you can bring them back over. But we'd get so many great reviews, and kind of like a little lacrosse following, so to speak, just from that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we were going to be out there anyways to
Yes.
support and watch Mallory and the team. So setting up a tent was really fun and educational. And if you think about cleats, and this could be soccer, lacrosse, football, baseball, um, cleats have no midsole. Midsoles in shoes are what create the support. Um, and they're designed, cleats are designed to be on plush grass fields with a lot of cushioning. But as we know, most fields, especially in the Midwest, don't have a lot of grass. By the end of the season, they're pretty tore up. So now you're on these cleats and you're elevated up and you don't have any support coming from your shoes. So where do you get the contour from? An Orange Light fits in and gives you that contour. Works really well with cleated product.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And kind of the other I guess customer category of people who really like these insoles are uh, some runners really love this as something to give their foot a break. So there are a few people I know that either work at Playmakers or have in the past, but they just love that it's a minimal profile, so it's not super aggressive. And it doesn't have a ton of like cushioning, so to speak, but they can kind of put them in their whatever like shoes they just kick around in or whatever. Again, just to give their arches a break. Maybe they did just go on a long run, or they're treating an injury or whatever it is. Just having a little bit extra support, they seem to really enjoy. So that's also been another, I guess, category of people that you may not necessarily expect. But we've talked about in the past how insoles can be a recovery tool and that sort of thing, and uh, those who don't necessarily need a ton of support, but just want to give up their feet a break, have loved it. So
Yeah, yeah, I'd agree. And I think two things that I've seen with runners is runners tend to like as light of a shoe as possible. And in general, when a running shoe gets lighter in weight, it becomes less supportive. So a runner could choose a lighter weight option that they like the feel of. And if it's lacking a little bit of support, you could put that thin profile Orange Light in, and that'll give them a little more contour that hopefully matches their support need with that lighter shoe. And then I've also seen some other runners where maybe they don't wear any insoles as they're running, but they've got a longer run coming up. So dropping in an Orange Light provides a little more support for those long runs where maybe your foot's going to fatigue and may have a little more motion and movement. That Orange Light can help to provide a little more stability.
great point. And then I think these, Tom, are probably like the top 2% of fitness level for runners, right? Like these are pretty elite runners, and they've grown up doing events and training and keep themselves in shape. But some people really need that extra cushion, and that's where the I guess pivoting a little bit, that sport insole has really been awesome with the O foam. It gives a really nice plush feeling underneath the foot, and it's kind of just like a like you said, the runners like lightweight or minimal stuff. It's kind of just a really swooped up sock liner. So you may not even necessarily notice it's in there. It's not that it changes the fit much of the shoe, but it's just that step up from that orange light to something a little more premium for those athletes as well. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that sport has that molded, contoured plastic piece under the arch that's going to provide that support stability, and then that O foam is a really great topping over the top of that plastic piece that's going to give you some cushioning, and again that rebound that we talked about is really nice for somebody who's in that type of a activity.
so I'm gonna do a quick recap, Tom, of everything for our audience, kind of a bottom line. So we have two full length insoles. The full length insoles will replace the liner that already comes in your shoe. The first one is the original full length insole. It's our most supportive. It features our signature deep heel cup and has a four-layered construction. The other full length insole that we carry is the Orange Sport insole. Has a three-layered construction, so it's slightly it's more of a thin athletic profile is the idea. It has an exclusive O foam, which is our O foam, the high rebound EVA foam, to give you more energy return, maximum durability, and that is going to be great for obviously athletics and whatnot. And then we have two 3/4 length insoles. Those are if your shoes do not have a removable liner. Uh, the first one is the 3/4 length insole, which I refer to as essentially the Orange full length junior. It has a lot of that same support, actually all the same support, a little less cushioning, but is going to be easy to swap between shoes or good for someone with wide feet who may not want crowding in the toe box. And then finally, the Orange Light insole, kind of the most versatile, but also the lightest weight, truly the least supportive. But it does have that contoured arch that many people love and need, just a little bit of extra support. Great for shoes that normally don't fit insoles like flats, high heels, cleats, as we just talked about, that sort of thing. Um, Obviously, so that's my rundown. Obviously, you can take different insoles and use them for totally different things. And we've heard a variety of success stories. So feel free to experiment and listen to your feet. But I think that's the rundown. What do you think, Tom? How did I do?
Yeah, you did great. Great job with the overview. I guess I would say that if you haven't had an insole yet and you're going, okay, there's four insoles, which one do I get? Think about what shoes you're going to wear most often and start there. So if your shoe has a removable sock liner and you know you need the maximum amount of support, go with the full length original. That makes a lot of sense. If you know that you're wearing very thin profile shoes that won't fit something that's fuller like that, then go with the Orange Light. So pick what you're going to wear most often and look towards those types of insoles. If you have an insole and you know it's working well for you, I'd encourage you to try something. If you have a full length but you don't have a light, pick that one up. If you have a full length but you're looking for something a little more flexible, try the Sport, see how it works. As Owen said, we are 100% guarantee our products. If you have any issues or any problem, if you said, hey, I tried it, I don't like it as well as this, we'll swap it out for you. So if you have one, maybe consider adding a second one, because I do know that I do rotate my insoles depending on shoes and activities, and it really makes a difference to have those tools in the tool belt.
Makes such a big difference. We were actually just at a wedding this past weekend, Tom and I, a family member, and I really need new dress shoes, but I just have like these super tight shoes I just need to like cram my foot in. But having an Orange Light insole in there definitely helped because of the metatarsal pad, just kind of helping spread out the weight on my forefoot more evenly. But I guess yeah, with Tom, I challenge you to maybe think of something that you could use an insole for that you haven't used an insole for yet, and we think it could help you out. So with that said, we'll be back with another episode, all sorts of different tips, tricks, uses for our insoles, but we appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much.